He says this game was a genuine draw, except two individual errors from Ramsdale and Gabriel. I am happy it happened in pre-season, but Arteta has a lot of thinking to do and start from the ground up again. Brandon, from an Arsenal point of view, what did you make of tonight, and especially where the eyes were really focused on the three new players that came into the team in Timber, Rice, and Kai Havertz?
Cool. Where do we start, Tel? First of all, yes, it is a pre-season game, but it is also a Premier League fixture, basically, against one of the rivals in the Premier League as well. So this game tells you more than what any other pre-season fixture will, right? United looked sharper than us. They pressed a lot better than us, I thought, as well. And you can kind of accept that because maybe, Manchester United are just, I don't know, a little bit ahead of us in terms of fitness at this stage of the pre-season. But there's a few things that I want to point out that kind of worry me a little bit with Arsenal. Firstly, Aaron Ramsdale with the first goal. Like, we've seen this on numerous occasions with Ramsdale, where he's conceding shots that he should be saving. And, Ramsdale by no means was at any fault for, us losing the league title last season. But if you're being real, he has to improve on that. You cannot be conceding shots that you should be at least pushing to the side of the goal at the very least, if not holding on to the ball. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's very, very clear to see that Balogun will be leaving Arsenal in this summer transfer window because, this kid, he's come back from a loan spell. He's hit 20 plus goals in the French league. It was a great opportunity to give him a chance tonight. And we decided to play Eddie Nketiah instead. And, KJ was just talking about how players are improving at Manchester United. Eddie Nketiah hasn't improved at all at Arsenal. If anything, he's got worse. And I cannot understand why Arteta persistently, keeps on trusting in this guy, giving him opportunities, giving him minutes. When you got the likes of Balogun, who's there, who's gone out and had a decent loan spell, and is crying out for opportunities. Otherwise, you're going to end up selling this guy on. Now, maybe the club have already made the decision to move him on. Maybe. But the point is, with it being a Premier League fixture against one of your rivals, pre-season or not, it's a great opportunity to have a look at this kid and see what he's actually all about, And he didn't do it tonight. So that tells me that Balogun's leaving. And if that's the case, Arsenal need to get a striker in. I don't care what anybody says. Eddie Nketiah is not good enough. And people will say, yeah, but we've got Jesus. Yeah, but we've got Trossard. Yeah, but we've got Havertz that can even play in that position. Let me ask you this, right? If worst case scenario, Gabriel Jesus has a long-term injury again next season, can you trust any of them players to actually do the role that Jesus does and better and keep the level at the heights that we're going to need it to be if we're to compete in the league title next season again and the Champions League and all the other competitions? And the answer is we need something a little bit different. We need somebody who can score more goals than Jesus, but can also do a similar role. Moving aside from that one, let's bring it to Kai Havertz. I backed this signing, then I questioned this signing. I think I've made up my mind about this signing now, Tel. And again, it's pre-season, so you cannot read into too much. But I think there's one thing that's clear to see. Kai Havertz and Declan Rice as a midfield does not work. It's as simple as that. And yeah, okay, you have to build relationships. You have to give it time. Arsenal don't have time, bro. We've got, 3-4 more pre-season games? Is that enough for them to build a connection between the two where it's going to be a good enough midfield to go out and attack the Premier League against a team of like Manchester City? I don't think so. I think you're right in what you said at the top of the show. I think you need a midfield of Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. And then Kai Havertz being that kind of option who can play sort of anywhere on the pitch. I don't see him as being a starting player in this Arsenal team. He looks too lightweight. He's getting overrun in the midfield by a young kid at Manchester United. You know, it's kind of like them little things there. And then, the defensive mistakes, they are what they are. But I look on these things in particular and I just think, right, we've decided to change up our midfield this summer. And it's looking like Arteta's going to want to either play Rice or Partey, not Rice and Partey, because again, he had the opportunity to see, what Declan Rice and Thomas Partey would have been like as a midfield too. He decided to take off Rice and bring on Partey and leave Kai Havertz on the pitch. So that tells me that it's going to be one of either Rice or Partey and then Havertz in front. And I just don't think that midfield is going to work for us next season if we're going to be challenging for a league title. I really don't. I really, really don't, bro. And it's worrying me. It really is. So that tells me as well that we also need to go out and buy another midfielder. So Arsenal need at least 2 more signings if we're to attack that Premier League next season.
KJ, what do you make?
What's happened?
I have no idea. So I asked KJ a question. I was like, what do you make of what Brandon just said there? You're on mute, bro. You're on mute, KJ.
Okay, let's try this again. Okay. No, I feel like with Arsenal, and what Brandon's saying is I get the frustration with where he's coming from. But at the same time, like if you look at that midfield today, that midfield is the first time it's ever played. It's gonna take a few adjustments to fulfill what Arteta wants from that midfield. I don't know if Kai Havertz is really this left center mid 8 that Arteta thinks he is, clearly. But I would give it a little time just to see how it goes. If by Christmas he's still looking awful in that position, then
by Christmas.
Yeah, listen, when's the last time we've seen Kai Havertz play number 8?
By Christmas, KJ.
Yeah, it has to.
We ain't got time for that, bro. And we've not got time for that. We need to start. No. We need to start this Premier League season sharp. None of this, give him till Christmas. None of that. And the thing that worries me about Kai Havertz more than anything as well is not only is he lightweight, right, but he doesn't look like he has the technical ability to play in that 8 role. And what I mean by that is you don't really see little intricate passes, little quick 1-2s in between, him, Odegaard and Rice. You don't really see that. You just see him in no man's land, kind of running around, chasing the ball like a bit of a headless chicken. Doesn't really look like he's very comfortable in that position. We ain't got time for this. We've got Thomas Partey there. We've got Declan Rice there. Declan Rice can play in that 8 and the 6 role. He can be that further forward thinking player. Thomas Partey could even do that as well. We see him score some goals for Arsenal last season. So don't be wasting time thinking, okay, it might come. Because by that point, we might already be out of the league title race. And the expectation at Arsenal this season is to go for the league title again. And if he finishes, because at the moment, right, if he finishes, let's say, further behind than what he did last season, either in terms of points or in terms of places, then you have to question if we've really improved. And when you've spent the likes of £200 million like we have in this summer, then big question marks have to be asked, not only of the manager, but the recruitment team as well.
I think that's a fair enough judgment in terms of Arteta's position in the team and in at Arsenal, because you're right. It's full season number 4 now. Full season number 4. He's spent what he's spent, and I'm not saying he shouldn't have spent what he spent. He should be spending money. That's not my argument here. My argument is when you've reached these numbers now, and you've pretty much got a squad you can say is his. Now you have to start delivering. So I understand you saying that kind of thing on Arteta. I still think this whole Kai Havertz thing needs a bit of time, because for me it has to work. It has to work, because otherwise that was a waste of 65 million, especially if you're not going to start paying him up front or on the wings or whatever you're going to do Kai Havertz. It'd be a waste if it doesn't work out in this left 8 position. So That's what I'm saying. You need to give it time because it has to work.
Look, listen, Brandon, I think I understand where you're coming from. You don't have time. And this is the thing. I think this is where Arsenal fans' mindsets have got to adjust. The rebuild's over. You have to win. Otherwise, it doesn't, again, not winning doesn't equal manager shit, manager bad, sack him. You have to contextualize it. We have no idea what it looks like yet. But it's win or failure. By the way, that's the same for City, same for Liverpool, same for you're in that position. Man United, by the end of this window, as long as we bought the people we need to buy, because it's only start of the second season for our manager, it's the same thing. And that's why it's a case of when things aren't looking great, the criticism's got to be there because you're not at the first year and the second year, maybe even the third year of a rebuild. You're getting to a point by the end of this window, your manager is going to have spent around £700 million. And by the end of this season, will be 4.5 years. He'll be in the middle of his 5th year in charge of your football club. So I do make you right. However, my kind of counter to you is a little bit, I wouldn't be full on panicking because it does still sometimes take a little bit of time to blend people in. The reason I say that, this is more about your manager than it is Kai Havertz or your manager than it is Declan Rice. And I'll tell you as to why. Because Pep Guardiola, we'll all agree, is the best manager in the world. He has signed people where year one, they don't look right. But what he does, he takes them out the firing line and finds a solution elsewhere in his squad. And that's where Arteta in the end last season, when Partey was playing bad, he left him in. When Holding was playing poor and he left him in, that's where he let you down. This is the thing. Say you play 3 more preseason games and Rice, but say Rice as well. Say Rice and Kai Havertz just don't look like it. You don't start the season with them playing. That's where your manager has to be brave to say, I know he's £100 million signing, but he might have to start on the bench if he isn't playing well because you winning football matches is more important. This season it is about the new signings, but remember, you haven't bought Declan Rice to win you the Premier League this season, per se. You bought him for the next 5 to 10 years. Does that make sense? And if he isn't ready straight away, that isn't the end of the world. Partey's still there. Jorginho is still there as an example. You should be able to utilize them. They're absolutely brilliant football players. And I think that's where, for me, I'm focusing on your manager. Because, again, Declan Rice might settle be great. If Kai Havertz is looking like he's got no confidence, like he just isn't in the game, if he's starting matches because, I've spent 65 million, I've got to play him. That's what Ollie did wrong at Man United with the likes of McTominay, with Fred, with Maguire. And it ruined them because it was they should have been pulled out of the limelight a lot sooner. That's when you look at your manager. So look, I'm very.
Do you not think there will be a lot of pressure on his shoulders to play Kai Havertz? Because it's very, very well known that this is a Mikel Arteta signing. This is somebody that he wanted. We spent the money on Kai Havertz. He convinced the board to spend the money on Kai Havertz, even up to £65 million. So is there kind of that pressure on his shoulders where he's also going to be sitting there thinking, well, I've got to play this guy? Because
no, there is. But this is the thing. There is pressure on him to play him. But I've seen Pep Guardiola sign people and then use them sporadically. I've seen people have world class. Like, don't be surprised if John Stones, who was out of this world last season, by midway point of next season is on the bench all the time. And that's just I'm guessing that we've seen him do it with multiple players in his team, right?
Klopp did the same thing with Fabinho in the first team.
When he brought Fabinho in, man didn't start playing until the January. This is what I mean. But if your manager may have pressure on him, but he has to know what the right thing for the team is, and that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's how you judge a manager. There's a difference between being a coach and a manager, and this is where, as a manager, you have to know when to take somebody out of the firing line. Or when to drop them, when to bring them back in, how to protect them. It doesn't matter that you spent 65 million on him. There's a comment that came in here, says, Terry, you're waffling. This is Arsenal's time to win the title. They've got the squad last season for form. I'm not saying they shouldn't be judged on winning the title or not. That isn't my point. I'm talking about when it comes down to managing your squad, you have to focus on the manager. We're talking about the responsibility and accountability of starting someone that isn't ready to start.
Yes,
You bought them, but they may not be ready straight away. How do we know this? The best manager in the world has literally spent £100 million on a player that wasn't ready for the first 18 months at a club. but he found a solution elsewhere. And that's how you judge your manager, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, see, this is where I'm worried though, Tel, because, you know, you go back to last season, you pointed it out yourself. He played Holding instead of Kivior for about 5 games. He carried on playing Thomas Partey even when he was well out of form. You know, and them things ended up costing us the league title in the end. Hopefully he's learnt his lesson. But from a guy who, you know, we'd say is relatively inexperienced in terms of being a manager, even though he's been a manager for 4 years, when you compare him to the likes of Guardiola and Klopp, who have been in the game for what, 10, 15 years as managers, they've been there, they've done it, they've learned from it. You know, they've made the mistakes and they've learned from them mistakes. So, you know, kind of comparing him to them, I understand it. But
no, mate, but I'm not comparing him. Someone in the comments said you shouldn't compare Pep and Arteta. I'm not comparing them. I'm giving an example of players that have been. You don't need to start the players you just bought. There are countless examples of that happening because proper managers, world-class managers, have done it. So my point to Arsenal fans is, if Kai Havertz ain't ready and your manager's keeping him on the bench, that should be getting praise, not why are you not starting him? You just bought him. You've got to think outside the box. So we'll see what he does when the season starts. Let's go to some of these super chats here. This year.